George Floyd honored in his hometown of Houston today. Protesters there calling for an end to racism and police violence. NBC News reporter Priscilla Thompson joining me now from Houston. Priscilla, is this a peaceful protest today? What has it been like there?
Allison, it's been entirely peaceful, and I want you to just take a look at this crowd here. Tens of thousands of people have turned out. City Hall is just behind us where the actual rally is taking place, but already you have got all of this overflow into the streets because there are that many people out here today. And one of the things that I have been struck by is the number of pregnant women and mothers that I have seen out here today. And I actually met Michelle here, who I want to chat with a little bit. And Michelle, you told me this is the first protest that you sort of attended, you know, as we've seen these cases of police violence. Didn't necessarily protest for Trayvon Martin or Freddie Gray, but you're here for George Floyd. Tell me why.
I'm here for George Floyd because as I was at home watching the video, all I could think about was my young son, my brother, and my future daughter's husband. And for me, I was activated at that point, and I said, no more. Enough is enough. And it's time to get out, boots on the ground, and fight for what's right.
And tell me a little bit about, this is sort of a historic moment here. What do you hope that your twins remember most about today?
I hope that my twins take from this, the reason why that I told them that they needed to come out here is because they needed to understand what it meant to fight for what you believe in. And so for me, I hope that they take this and every experience moving forward with them in their journey, and that they understand that you always stand up for and fight for what's right. No matter the circumstances, no matter the level of uncomfort, you fight for what's right. And I'm here doing just that today.
And for the folks who are out there watching and seeing this huge gathering of folks in George Floyd's hometown, what is your message for them, final words for them?
My message for them is a message that I thought of as I was in my home not too long ago. And that message was that something is different, something is happening. We are all coming together, all races, all creeds, all people are coming together, and this will be different. We are fighting for change this time, and it shall be effective.
Thank you, Michelle.
No problem. Thank you.
And Allison, that's what I'm hearing a lot of out here, that folks feel like this case could be the turning point, and that while they see, you know, police officers stepping forward in solidarity, they want to see actionable steps and accountability when things like this happen, Allison.
Oh, Priscilla, I just love to hear that beautiful optimism. Something is different. Something will happen. It is wonderful to hear that spirit tonight. I'd like to ask you before you go about George Floyd's funeral. I know that several high-profile people are expected to be there. What can you tell us about those arrangements, that funeral happening next week in Houston, of course?
That's right, Allison. So we do know that there are going to be services in Minnesota on Thursday and then Saturday in North Carolina. And then George Floyd's body will return to his hometown of Houston. There's going to be a viewing on Monday, and then there will be the funeral on Tuesday. We're expecting a number of high-profile guests. Among them, we know that Joe Biden is going to be in attendance. And, you know, we'll wait to see what other guests and possible speakers to expect here. But, you know, they're expecting up to 500 people. They are going to allow them in the church for service, but obviously want to make sure that they're practicing that social distancing and asking folks to wear a mask so that people can celebrate George Floyd's life and say their final farewells while they're also maintaining safety, because we are in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, something people absolutely have to keep in mind. But Priscilla, I would not be surprised to see if even more than 500 people showed up, so many people wanting to pay their respects to George Floyd. Priscilla Thompson in Houston, thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison.
As many cities across America burned over the weekend, there was a notable omission from the list of curfews, mass arrests, arson, and police brutality: Baltimore. The Maryland city is no stranger to racial tensions, having experienced civil unrest after the 2015 death of Freddie Gray in police custody. But demonstrations for George Floyd over the past 4 days, without a curfew, have been largely peaceful. Monday's youth-led march drew thousands on the eve of Baltimore's consequential mayoral election.
They had the protest. I saw a lot of love, saw a lot of unity. At the same time, it was a lot of anger and frustration being voiced from the protesters.
Attending this protest today, I was beyond moved by the vulnerability and the power that people of color presented.
The young people who led the march on yesterday They did a phenomenal job. I don't know how many thousands of people there were there, but that was I've never seen a protest in Baltimore so big.
I'm really feeling inspired after being surrounded by so many powerful and empowering men and women that all came together for one common goal.
That's the story that needs to be told about Baltimore. It's not just riots, it's young people standing up against injustice and demanding better.
On Tuesday, Republican Governor Larry Hogan tweeted, "I'm proud that Baltimore is showing the nation how we can begin to build a more perfect union." Thousands of young people and community leaders expressed their frustrations peacefully while working with police to stand up to a handful of extremists with a violent agenda. "This is how real positive change happens," he wrote.
In Baltimore yesterday, we were a national example of what it looks like to engage in passionate protesting without widespread breaking of the law.
Even as protests grew tense late Monday night after an agitator set off fireworks at officers and Maryland State Police activated reinforcements, both police and protesters avoided violent escalation. Activist Kwame Rose helped disperse crowds and turn over an agitator who was setting off fireworks to authorities.
Go home. We proved our point. We did what we came here to do tonight. Do not turn this into something it does not have to be.
I wanted to keep the protesters in their rage safe and not controlled but orchestrated in a manner that was strategic, so that today, when we wake up on the next day, we get closer to fighting for our goal.
This is not to say there hasn't been unlawful behavior, but the roughly 20 arrests over 4 days of protests pale in comparison to those in other major U.S. cities, dozens of which have been under curfew.
I went through this in 2015 during the riots in Baltimore. One of my primary focuses was to try to lower the temperature.
The Gray protests led to the Department of Justice in Baltimore agreeing on a consent decree to implement reforms in the city's police department, including de-escalation training and enhanced transparency.
Millions of dollars pumped into the city after the Baltimore uprising, but the community where Freddie Gray grew up still looks the same.
We still have a lot of work to do. Absolutely not. Incidents have happened in Baltimore City since then. And so, no, it just proves, again, that we have a lot of ground to cover.
Yes, we are upset. We are angry. But that destruction, in a physical sense, is not going to work here. But we've seen the result of destruction. We've seen how they come after us. And so we did not need, we want to show the catalyst of, we've learned from mistakes of the past.
And NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joining me now from Los Angeles. Aaron, what's going on in the city today?
Hey, Allison. Well, it's pretty calm here in Los Angeles. I'm on Ventura Boulevard. You can see, let me just walk down the street here. Shop after shop completely boarded up, not because there's been looting in this location, but they're afraid of the violence that's been engulfing this city and the surrounding cities for the past few days. But today has been comparatively peaceful and calm. There was a protest earlier today. There's a protest going on right now in downtown. There's also protests earlier today in Venice on Abbot Kinney, once dubbed the coolest stretch of street in all of the United States by GQ magazine. They were there, the protesters, and it went off peacefully. Protests happening now in the Hollywood area. The National Guard is present there, around 500 protesters there, but still calm and peaceful situation. There were a record number of arrests in the overnight hours there in Hollywood. Over 540 people arrested. Thousands of people have been arrested in this area over the past few days. And it's the violence has become formulaic. It begins with a peaceful protest, and then you see rioters and looters take advantage of the situation, move in, and cause destruction. There's a lot of people here, as you can see, all along the stretch, very nervous and on edge. But at the moment, today seems to be comparatively calm.
Good to hear that, Aaron. We know the Los Angeles police chief is under fire for comments that he made, saying looters were also responsible for George Floyd's death. What is he saying about that now, and how have other city leaders responded to that?
And those comments were made in an emergency press conference with the fire chief as well as the mayor of Los Angeles. After he spoke, the mayor allowed him another chance to retract those comments, but the damage was done. They've since gone viral. He has taken to Twitter again to apologize. I have what Michael Moore, the police chief, had to say. Let me just read you his tweets. He said, quote, "I misspoke when making a statement about those engaging in violent acts following the murder of George Floyd. While I did immediately correct myself, I recognize my initial words were terribly offensive. Looting is wrong, but it is not the equivalent of murder, and I did not mean to equate the two. I deeply regret and humbly apologize for my characterization. Let me be clear, the police officers involved were responsible for the death of George Floyd." We also heard from the mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, also say that he regrets those comments.
Aaron McLaughlin in Los Angeles. We hope things stay calm and peaceful there tonight. Thanks so much.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.